Hey everyone, Parthy over here. Welcome back to the Letter Drop podcast. Today we're talking with Jane Serra. She recently joined Daxtra as VP of Growth Marketing. Jane and I met probably, I want to say like a month or two ago um, at, I want to say the Pavilion
Yeah.
CMO conference or Golden Hour, but something going on in New York. And we talked a little bit about how she used to live in New York, how she's spent the past 9 years in Miami, how her heart is kind of still in New York, and Miami's sort of growing tech scene. But I'm really excited to talk to her today because she just started a new role in a marketing leadership position, and we talked to lots of CMOs, heads of marketing, VPs of marketing here at Letterdrop. Probably a bunch of you in our audience today as well. And a common theme or something that I'm seeing is a lot of people are trying to understand how do they set themselves up for success at a new role, especially in today's environment. I know a lot of people are just talking. I was at the CRO conference for Pavilion. People are talking about just how short tenures are right now. And people really want to think about joining the right company for them, setting themselves up for success, having the right relationship with their board, their CEO, their sales counterparts.
Yes.
And so I'm really excited to learn from Jane today about how she's been thinking about this at her most recent role and historically throughout her career. So, welcome to the show, Jane.
Thank you so much for the great welcome. It's so good to continue our conversation from New York. I'm excited to be here. Hi, everybody. And
Awesome.
yes, New York is forever in my soul, born and raised in New York City. So I'll always be a New York City girl. But I love Miami. I don't see us leaving here anytime soon after 9 years.
I mean, the weather is better, so can't complain.
For sure.
So, Jane, talk to
Sunshine
us.
and palm trees.
Yeah, that's true. So, Jane, talk to me a little bit more about your first couple of weeks. So, this is your new role. What have you been up to
Yeah.
for the past 2 months? I know you've been hard to get a hold of. You've been really busy to
Yeah.
get on this podcast. So I'm sure like you've
Yes,
been
I'm so
up to a
sorry.
lot of stuff. Talk to me about the past 2 months and what you've been really focused on in a new marketing leadership role.
You got it. There's so much to talk about. It's been really crazy in a great way. And there's kind of a few things I want to touch on here. One, you mentioned in the intro, like the process of finding a new position, right? And what you're looking for and fine tuning that. And real quickly, when I was looking for a new position, there were two things that I was looking for first and foremost, and those were my core. One is a great product with raving fan customers that are not related to the founder. That was a big one for me. Just a really great product that I believed in and saw the roadmap for. And then, second, equally important, was good people. You spend so much time with the people you work with. You need to make sure that you click with them and that they're just good people with good hearts. I think that's paramount. And when I was interviewing with Daxtra, I already knew the CEO. I'd worked with him in the past, Terry Baker. He's amazing. I know he has a great heart. But I met a few other people. And when I met my counterpart in London, Ruth, I instantly clicked with her. And we were talking about all the different things we could do and struggles we have as marketing leaders. And I remember just laughing so much in this interview to the point where I paused and I was like, I just need to tell you, I really like you. And that's never happened to me in an interview before. It's so unprofessional, but and she was like, I like you too. It's just a perfect match. And then I interviewed with a board member, always scary, right? And I loved her too. First of all, it's a woman. So I just love having a female board member who I would be working closely with and learning so much from. And I just saw instant mentor potential and so much that I want to just extract and learn from Kimberly Casper from Stratum Capital. So it was just a perfect kismet of people. And there's tons of really raving fans at Daxtra. So I'm just blessed that I found these two things because it sounds so simple to look for a great product, good people. It's so hard to find both in the same place. So I lucked out and definitely encourage everyone to if you're in the job market and looking for it, find out what your two things are, your three things are, and stick with it because you'll find it. But back
Gotcha.
to your current question, what I've been focused on. So For better or worse, I am not the marketing leader that comes in and just changes everything. I know a lot of people like to be that person and they like admire that kind of leadership. It's just not me. I'm not a bull in a china shop. I come in and I like to learn and observe and yes, make changes and quick wins everywhere I can, but it's more of a strategic, slower play for me. I don't come in with a playbook that I've used before that I want to completely just change everything and reinstate in this new company. I want to learn what's different about this company and the audience, et cetera. So the first 30 days is kind of a listening tour for me. I took something, I want to say it's from the CMO from Calendly. I think I took this out of her book. I met with everybody internally in my listening tour, all stakeholders, all of my peers, and everybody I could really. And I asked them many questions, but one question was, if I had a magic wand, what would you want me to change? And so gathering that information, some people were had several things. They were like, "Oh, I would change this, this, this. I need this, this, this." So it's great to pull this and identify what the themes were across the team. So the first 30 days was definitely just absorbing everything, learning all about the product and the company and the people and the problems and the challenges and what we need more of. So that part is continuous, ongoing forever, right? But I have that as a foundation. And now my next phase is meeting with customers. I think that is paramount. And I'm actually glad I didn't do it at the same time because now I know better questions to ask on these interviews after my internal meetings. And I know a lot more about the product and the space. So I'm meeting with our customers, and my goal there is to extract how they speak about Daxtra, how they speak, what keeps them up at night, what they care about, what they're thinking about with Daxtra and beyond. So what their struggles are, and who just learning about them as people, where they spend time, right? So we are where they are, but mostly my most important thing is learning how they speak about us and the space in general, the terms they use, the words they use, so that we can then take that and mirror that in our messaging. So a big piece of that I don't know if you've heard of Forget the Funnel by Georgiana Laudia. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, Gia, but it's a great book I highly recommend to everybody. It gives a ton of really great interview questions for customers and how you can extract a ton of knowledge and gain a lot from those first customer calls. But yeah, that's my what I'm focused on right now. And then of course along the way, it's what quick wins can you identify? What campaigns can you get started? Because you can't just be listening and learning for 90 days, right? Although that would be a dream. It would be really strategic after that, but definitely finding some quick wins and learning where I need to spend my time and what my team needs to be focused on. So that's the focus.
I think a lot of marketers, marketing leaders struggle with that talking to customers part. So, how have you gone about deciding which customers to talk to, identifying them, actually getting time with them because customers are busy? Like I run a business and I know like even our CSM getting time with our customers is sometimes hard. They're just like, hey, like your stuff is working, like leave me alone. I need my job. I have to do my job. So I'm just curious as to how you've gone about that process in terms of
Yeah.
identifying the people to talk to, and actually reaching out to them, having those conversations. And I don't know if you're using any sort of historical records or data to also learn about them, like going through like sales call recordings or support tickets or emails like that.
Great question. And yeah, I can touch on a few different things there. First, with the customers, I wanted to keep it super simple to start since this is my first round of interviews. I plan to do this continuously while I'm here. But for the first round, I simply asked the CS team. I was going to pull a list from Salesforce. And then I just second guessed myself. I was like, you know what? This is too cold. I went into my CS team and I asked which customers do we want more of? And that can mean high ARR, because hey, we're all in this to get more of the people that bring us revenue, right? So high ARR, really happy with our product, and just people you'd want to work with more, right? So those three factors, I got recommendations and intros from our CS team directly. And from there, I just used a Calendly link so that they can book with me. Super surprised. I had instantly like 6 to 10 meetings booked on my calendar. So it was a beautiful situation to be in. These are really happy customers. So I think they were happy to pick my brain and see what I can bring. I'm positioning it, and this is very much true. It's not just kind of marketing speak. A big goal of me having these interviews is also finding out how we can better bring value to our customers too, right? Like there's two things here. One, of course, I want to learn how to better market. I mean, growth is in my title for a reason. But also on the flip side, how can we add value to our existing customers and make sure that we're helping them succeed on our platform and within their careers? So if they share this insight with me on what's working, what's not working, what they care about, I can then work with my team to create a feedback loop with the product team and prioritize certain features. But most importantly, on my end, is create content that would bring them value, like different tips and tricks on how to leverage Daxtra or outside of Daxtra, right? Like, what do you care about? Okay, interviewing people to get answers to questions that have come up on my interviews. So I'm planning on doing that and bringing value. Since I messaged the messaging that I shared with the CS team for the intros touches on that, I think that helped with getting a positive or volume response.
Yeah, I think it's always easier when there's something in it for both parties. It's just like it's a give. It's always like give before you ask. So I like that you
Exactly.
positioned it as this is going to be a helpful conversation for you as well, and it's not just me selfishly being like I'm gonna pepper you with a whole bunch of questions so I can go do my job and forget about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But also, I think when you're a happy customer and you really love the product, that you're kind of happy to give that feedback. Yes, we all are out of time, but I think if you're a social person to some degree, you'll opt into building that relationship. So, my first round of interviews so far has been with the purchase decision maker,
Okay.
which is so interesting. It's been all over the board for what kind of role they are, which is a great learning experience for me as well. But I have had one or two follow-up interviews after that with the end users or the person that's using the product day in, day out. And it's really interesting to get both perspectives. I have another one later today with a couple end users, recruiters, our end users in our case. So I'll be speaking with them, and I'm so excited to kind of bookend that, so I can see what drove the decision making and what's driving the day to day adoption of our platform. So excited to see both sides for sure. You also asked about sales calls and monitoring that. So I have always been a fangirl of Gong. I feel like I have 10x that in the past few weeks. And for two reasons. One is we have all of our recordings are or all of our calls have been recorded in Gong. We have hundreds of calls, and they're beautifully segmented. I can add trackers and look back at like new trackers that I want to monitor, and it historically updates. So it's I'm a kid in a candy shop inside Gong right now. And to magnify that, I don't know if you saw recently on LinkedIn, but Udi from Gong, he offered time to meet with anybody who's a Gong user to show you how you can better leverage Gong from a marketing perspective. And that just unlocked new opportunities for me inside Gong. So twofold is I'm basically in there right now just extracting information about competitive intel and themes that come up, objections that come up on calls, and finding all of that information so I can leverage that for our messaging and content creation. But also, I plan on taking all of these hundreds of calls and trying to pull out trends and extract takeaways on a monthly basis. And I'm going to start sharing that internally so that we can just have these insights and share them across the team. So yes, really pumped to continue my learning on there and shed some light for the team internally as well.
Yeah, I think whenever we have somebody new join our go-to-market team, we use Fireflies. It's just like cheaper Gong, but it does the job in terms of getting you
Yeah.
transcripts. So yeah, we've been
Yes.
using that to just like identify to your point, like hey, like which of our customers are best are like a best fit, higher ARR, higher ACV deals, and just go through those, understand that entire sales process, understand like what motivated them to buy, and then we go and really talk to them and see like, okay, like that was sort of like your decision making to that point. What did the follow through look like after you were onboarded? How are things today? How are you thinking about things?
Yeah.
So all of that's been super helpful. But yeah, sales calls have a ton of information, just like that customer voice in them. In terms of, so you talked a little bit about first couple of months talking to customers, talking to your team. Let's talk a little bit about that team part of things, right? So who are you really talking to? Like who are the big stakeholders here? So I imagine there's your CEO, there's your board, the rest of the marketing team, and probably sales are probably like the big ones in my mind. How did you go about building those relationships with each of those parties, and what matters in each of those relationships?
Yeah, great point. So first and foremost was meeting with my boss, the CEO, and aligning on his goals and expectations and our OKRs as a company and the marketing team's OKRs, which were established before I came on. So seeing if we needed to change anything, tweak anything, or stay on track. So that's number one. And then right away, I wanted to, of course, meet with our sales leaders. So we have a head of sales in the Americas, EMEA, and in APAC. So aligning with all three of those leaders. And then CS. So making sure I met with the head of CS, but also a couple of CS members and a couple of sales leaders as well underneath the VPs, and product. So this is also huge for me. I over the past 5 years has have become much more of a product marketer, and I just see the value in connecting with sales, CS, and product and marketing, having us all super aligned. So I made sure I met with all of them, and the goals here with all of them, it's this to an extent, but especially with sales, I want to make sure we are looking at the same numbers. Them know that the way my mindset is ever since, gosh, for maybe 15, 16 years now, since after my first job or two, I just knew that number one point for marketing is to align with sales. We are all in this to drive revenue for the company. We should be looking at the same numbers. I have said this several times, so sorry if everyone's sick of me saying this. I hate the word credit. I never want to be in a place where I'm pointing fingers at sales and they're pointing fingers at marketing, like, oh, we need more leads. Oh, they're not closing the deals. I don't have those conversations. I can't remember the last time I've had a conversation like that. I don't like just we're focused on MQLs and they're focused on revenue. At the end of the day, we're all trying to drive revenue. So just aligning them, bringing that to their attention, knowing that's where I come from, which I think establishes a lot of trust from the get go that that's my mindset, and we're here to support each other. But ultimately, marketing is supporting sales to drive revenue, and that doesn't mean we are subservient to sales. It just means we are a team driving revenue together. And it works very similarly with product. Like product, we want to make sure we create a feedback loop, right? That product is sharing information and releases with marketing. We then have just a proper process for what's a tier one, tier two, tier three, tier four feature release, product release, right? And what gets the attention, aligning on those lines. And then there's also the feedback loop. So what are we hearing from customers, from prospects, and feeding that back to products so we can prioritize roadmap and feature updates. So it's just establishing that relationship. I'm again blessed at Daxtra that our CTO is very marketing minded. I told him he could be on the marketing team if he ever wants to be. But he right away was talking to me about UI, UX within the product and making sure that it stays on brand. So I never have heard that from a CTO before. So it was music to my ears. And CS, there's just so much we can do on the customer marketing side, just to add value, help get us sticky with customers. We know that we have advocates. How can we better leverage them and show them we love them too? So that it's just across the board creating those relationships and showing that marketing is going to be dedicating time to each of these teams.
When you talk to your CEO and board, what are your personal metrics? Like, what are you being metriced on? Especially during a ramp up period, you have to like set expectations in terms of you getting accustomed to the company and understanding the business and all that kind of stuff. So, how
Yeah.
do you have that conversation simultaneously? Keep yourself grounded and real in terms of like, hey, here's what we want to do by X time period, versus I need
Yeah.
some time to understand the organization, the business, in order to actually help you hit those goals.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of conversations with Kimberly, so on our board, to make sure we're aligned in what they are looking at, our PE firms. So making sure that I'm on the same page as them, same with our CEO, and fine tuning. So I have my first board meeting is going to be next month, so I'll let you know how that goes. But my plan is, and this actually was very much emphasized at the Pavilion CMO Summit. So you probably heard this too. But when I go to the board meeting, if we're going to report our numbers, and if our numbers are not where they should be, we're still calculating all of that. So not saying they are, but if if they're not where they should be, just having a game plan for, okay, this was our target for Q2, this is where we met off, and this is why, if we exceeded our goals, this is what we're going to double down on to keep this momentum going. Or if we did not hit those, this is why we think it could be, and this is what we're going to change to hit these numbers in Q3. So as long as we discuss the numbers, again, we're all on the same page with sales. We don't want to be having this different numbers that we're reporting on. That's so key. Sometimes different systems, right, show different numbers. So just making sure that we're on the same page. And then being clear, okay, this is what we missed on, or this is what where we're winning, and this is what we're going to double down on, and having a game plan to get to those numbers or exceed them in the next round.
Gotcha. And when you say numbers, are we talking about revenue, pipeline, MQLs? What are you focused on?
All of the above. So right now at Daxtra, they're still very focused on MQLs. For me, it's much more about pipeline and revenue at the end of the day, but they do all paint the same picture, right? So we need to
Right.
talk about all three. We want to make sure that the MQLs are healthy. We have a lot more inbound coming in. That's a big goal for us. I know we spend a ton of our budget on events. So that's a big goal for me, is to switch that over to a lot more inbound, building content, building our brand. So there's a lot to do there. So showing that momentum on the MQL side and what's coming in, and just bringing more hand raisers, but ultimately that those hand raisers are qualified and they're leading to pipeline generation and they're closing at the end of the day. So I keep a close eye on all three for sure.
In terms of your relationship with sales, like what are the sort of like expectations there? How are you thinking about collaborating? I feel like there are lots of so for example, in our case, we sell to both marketing and sales teams. And sometimes we need both of those teams to collaborate and work well together. So, for example, like we help with like social selling, and in order for
Yeah.
teams to actually connect with their buyers or get this kind of like content, thought leadership, educational stuff to buyers, the sales team needs to participate. However, I will see sales teams where they're like, no, that is strictly under that's marketing's job. I don't see it as my responsibility to educate our customers. And I'm like, mind blown. That's kind of crazy to me. This is going to help you drive more
Yeah.
inbound, but also going to help you like in terms of your outbound. Like people are going to trust you more. You're going to
Yeah.
seem like you're a consultative business thought partner as opposed to a person who's just trying to like sell them something. And so, yeah, I'm just curious as to
Yeah. Order taker.
how you navigate
Uh-huh.
that relationship and make sure everyone's on the same page and expectations are set in terms of who does what, and getting everyone on the same page. And to be clear, I think the more forward thinking companies are really thinking about doing all this together. There are other companies I've talked to where they're like, I need to know whether an SDR is going to be ramped up in 2 months or they're out. I don't have time for them to educate customers. Smile and dial. And that's pretty much it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Oof. So I think I'm pretty lucky in this situation where we started something called, it's so simple, but a weekly Slack update in our general channel that's just like Marketing Monday updates. And it's everything that's coming out this week from marketing and also things that we're seeing in the industry and things you should know, things you can talk about with prospects or customers. So it's for sales and CS. And it's basically a download that they can leverage throughout the week, and the response has been really huge and everybody's loving it so far. So I think we have a team. You're asking about sales specifically. I think our sales team is pumped to start sharing this kind of content. It gives them content to put inside their sequences and for their outreach and sales navigator. So being able to lure or just build that relationship. It's not even luring, right? It's building a genuine relationship with people, especially when you're in enterprise sales, beyond just always asking for something. It's like I
Right.
think you mentioned this in the beginning of the call, like give, and give some more, and then ask. So it's definitely providing, seeing, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's seeing where we can add value and provide value to our prospects and customers, our audience at large. I think that's something we're going to continue to get better at as a team. And it seems like our sales team is pumped about that. So I'm very lucky. We are also in social selling. We are working on building out more of a internal advocate, internal influencer team. So definitely leveraging those. A lot of our team have come from being a recruiter, so they can connect with our prospect, our audience, just one to one. They've been in their shoes before. So if we can tap into that and expand it a lot more by them adding their genuine thoughts and takeaways and not just spewing links out into the ether on LinkedIn, then I think we'll be in a good place. So that's on the horizon for us.
Yeah, and I think another great idea or an advantage that you have is you already have a great customer base, and you have all of these recruiters, you have all of these sort of like people, leaders in there, and your CS team, your sales team, they're already talking to these folks every single day. And so I feel like a lot of marketing is actually just one to many sales, right? And
Yeah,
so instead of
totally.
answering those questions one on one with people, I think using that as, hey, like this is what people are confused about. You talked about this earlier in the conversation, just understanding what their priorities are, like what their life's like.
Yeah.
What are they asking your CS team today? What are they asking your sales team today? And then essentially turning that into content, broadcasting that more publicly, either through your own team's voice or through these influencers that you're building up. I think that's a really good idea. So I love to hear that.
I mean, there's, I think, a big challenge going back to the first 90 days, right? A big challenge for me is going to be prioritizing because there's so much low hanging fruit and there's so many directions we can go in. It's where do we go first to drive the biggest results and that impact? Because you want to show, especially you want to, I'm not that bull in the china shop, right? That comes in and changes everything. So how else can I make my impact on the company and show they made the right decision? It's through campaigns and proper prioritization. And also, I see another role of mine is being a roadblock eliminator for my team. It's a small, scrappy marketing team, right? We're a team of 4 right now. We're spread super thin, and everybody's asking us for a million things, being pulled in different direction. We have a huge Salesforce project going on. Kudos to Ruth for driving that forward. But it's how do we get above all of these day-to-day distractions that are pulling at us and be really strategic and focused on our top priorities. So that's going to be a core focus of mine and goal of mine over the next few months.
You talked about quick wins. What were some of the quick wins you've had so far, and how are you thinking about moving from quick wins to larger strategic initiatives, like larger projects, which require a little bit more work and effort on everybody's part?
Yeah. So, quick wins. I need to get better at documenting these things because I feel like every day it's like little things here and there that I'm adding to. But it's really asking the right questions and seeing if we should make any changes on certain things. But the So let me think of some tangible quick wins. So one thing this isn't really a quick one. This is a quick win of getting things started because this goes to building out the bigger projects. We're launching our ABM campaigns for the first time at Daxtra. Building that out is the long term play. And at the same time, I'm figuring out we had a few different not fires but just newsworthy specific things that came up, and tackling those at the same time as I'm continuing to build these ABM campaigns out, right? So just for example, if we're very event focused right now, as I've mentioned. So making sure that the pre and post event is, we have some activation, we have some communications going out. So adding some quick wins there where we can, while we're building out the bigger inbound engine and ABM campaigns that I hope to pivot us over to. We're also, we right before I came on, we acquired a company called Pivot CX. So there is an acquisition that we're now focused on that integration. So knocking out some quick wins there, getting the team into the fold, and making sure we get some content built out around there for some internal cross selling. So some quick wins there while we're building out bigger campaigns.
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense. I feel like events are amazing, especially just like meeting face to face with customers and building those relationships. But they are expensive and they are infrequent. It's not like you can just like turn them on or turn them off. And so I like that you were thinking more broadly about we need to diversify how we acquire customers, and into like much more scalable channels as well. I think if you can just build yourself into the brand that is the de facto, like in your customers' minds, problem equals Draxta. That is eventually what every single
Yeah.
brand wants to be. In the same way, when someone says like, I don't know, sales call recordings, you think Gong, even though there's like a million tools in that space, you're just like, okay,
That's so
here's
true.
the one.
Yeah.
And so I feel like every SaaS business at the end of the day just want, like, that's the ultimate goal, to build that brand to problem
Yeah.
relationship.
Like Kleenex and tissues, right? Like when
Yes,
people say, "Oh, like I
exactly.
need Kleenex." Uh-huh. We want Daxtra to be synonymous with like better, faster talent acquisition.
Yeah,
Yeah, so true.
yeah, you want to be a verb. You want to be like, it's like
Like,
I'm
oh, have you
Googling
Daxtra
something, or I'm,
today?
yeah, have you
Yeah,
Daxtra today? I'm Ubering somewhere, I'm
that's so
Googling
true.
something. That's what you want to be.
Yes, that might be a good ad campaign. I'll give you
Right.
some kudos
Yeah.
if we run with that.
Amazing.
But you're
Um,
right. Yeah, there's a lot to build out there. One thing I'm going to be working on too, so you can see there's a lot already from the variety of topics I've touched on a little bit, but partner marketing. This is something I'll bring up in every conversation. It's a core lead source of every position I've held in the past, is working with partners to expand our audience and build referrals. So we already have an amazing partnerships team here, but working closer with them to build the partner marketing arm of that, and with more partner content collaborations, video creation, and webinar collabs, new series coming out. So there's a lot we can build on that side of things too. I'm excited for that.
well, I'm excited for you. Jane, this was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to share a little bit about your first, I guess it's been about 60 days or more into
Like
a new
40. Yeah,
40.
I'm still
Okay.
early in.
40
Yeah.
days into your new role in a marketing leadership role. Hopefully, marketing leaders in our audience who are in a similar position or going to go through this soon took something away from this conversation. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you in our audience today?
Two ways. So LinkedIn for sure. Find me on LinkedIn. Follow me. Connect with me. Would love to hear from you. And you can follow my podcast, Women in B2B Marketing. So check it out. Thank you for
Amazing.
having me. This has been super fun. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no, thank you so much for joining our show.
Bye, everybody.